The machine-gun cruiser, the untold story of USS Helena, CL-50. In the black waters of Guadalcanal, Japanese sailors whispered of an American ship that fired faster than anything they had ever seen. Her guns didn't thunder, they roared like machine guns, tearing through the night with relentless fury. That ship was the USS Helena, light cruiser, survivor of Pearl Harbor, and the vessel the enemy would come to call the machine-gun cruiser. But Helena's legend didn't begin in battle. It began years earlier, in the quiet depths of the Great Depression. When the United States rebuilt its Navy, the Helena was part of a bold new class, sleek, fast, and armed to the teeth. Her hull stretched over 600 feet, her triple turrets housed 15 6-inch guns, and her engines could drive her across the Pacific faster than most destroyers. On paper, she was formidable. In steel, she was a predator. Her keel was laid in Brooklyn in 1936, her plates hammered together by men who had seen hard times but still believed in America's future. They didn't know it then, but they were building more than a ship. They were building a survivor. Helena joined the Pacific Fleet in 1940 and spent a year in Hawaiian waters. Training, gunnery drills, endless practice for a war no one truly believed would come. But war did come, and it came with fire. December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor. Helena was moored beside the old mine layer Oglala when the Japanese torpedo planes swept in. One mistook her for a battleship and released a single torpedo. It slammed into Helena's side, tearing open her hull and flooding her engine rooms. The blast killed dozens instantly. But within 2 minutes, power was back. Her gunners, half blind from smoke and debris, fought back with whatever they had. She should have sunk that morning, but she didn't. When the smoke cleared, Helena was scarred, bleeding oil, but still afloat. The Japanese thought they'd killed her. They were wrong. 2 months later, repaired and refitted, Helena steamed out of the Mare Island Navy Yard with vengeance in her wake. She had new radar, more anti-aircraft guns, and a crew that no longer feared death. They had seen it up close and had lived. By the fall of 1942, the battle for Guadalcanal had become a nightly war of ambushes. The Japanese sent destroyers down the slot to resupply their troops. The Americans sent cruisers to stop them. Among them was Helena, now faster, deadlier, and guided by the magic of radar. On October 11, 1942, in the dark waters off Cape Esperance, Helena's radar picked up blips, enemy ships closing fast. Her captain didn't wait. At exactly 11:46 p.m., Helena's guns opened up, unleashing a storm of fire that turned the night into day. In 14 minutes, she fired more than 1,000 rounds, smashing 2 Japanese cruisers and a destroyer before they even knew what hit them. It was the U.S. Navy's first clear surface victory of the war. From that night on, every sailor in the Pacific knew her name. A month later came the brutal Battle of Guadalcanal. Helena was there again, firing in the chaos as friendly ships collided and torpedoes slashed through the dark. Her radar made her one of the few ships that could see clearly in the confusion. When a Japanese destroyer made the mistake of illuminating her with a searchlight, Helena's gunners answered with 6-inch fury. The destroyer vanished in a single explosion. By dawn, the sea was littered with burning wreckage. Helena had survived again, barely scratched. Her gunners were exhausted, their barrels glowing red from the heat of battle. The months that followed were a test of endurance. Helena and her crew lived through heat, disease, and constant threat. They bombarded jungle positions by day and hunted the Tokyo Express by night. They fought, they laughed, they made music on the deck when they could. Their ship became more than steel. It was home, and every man aboard was family. But in war, luck runs out. By mid-1943, the Helena was worn but still deadly. On July 5th, she sailed into Kula Gulf under the light of a full moon, a cruel disadvantage. Japanese destroyers waited ahead, armed with the fearsome long-lance torpedo. When Helena opened fire, her guns once again lit the night like lightning. She sank the enemy flagship in minutes, her accuracy unmatched. But the brilliant flashes gave away her position. The Japanese fired back, not with shells, but with a wave of invisible killers. Torpedoes sliced through the water toward her. At 2:03 a.m., 3 found their mark. The first ripped off her bow. The second and third struck amidships, snapping her spine. The ship that had survived Pearl Harbor was breaking apart. Even then, her aft turrets kept firing as the sea climbed over her decks. Her captain gave the order no sailor ever wants to hear: abandon ship. Helena split in 3. Hundreds of men were thrown into the oil-coated water. Nearby destroyers, Nicholas and Radford, turned back into danger, pulling survivors aboard while dodging Japanese torpedoes. They saved more than 700 men before dawn forced them to retreat. But hundreds more were left behind. For days, Helena's survivors clung to wreckage under the burning Pacific sun. Sharks circled. Japanese planes strafed them, yet they refused to give in. Guided by coast watchers and island natives, many reached safety on nearby islands and were rescued a week later. Of the 868 men who sailed aboard Helena that night, 700 survived. When the war ended, veterans spoke of her not as a ship, but as a living thing, a fighter that had refused to die quietly. Helena had fought at Pearl Harbor, Cape Esperance, Guadalcanal, and Kula Gulf. She earned 7 battle stars and the Navy Unit Commendation, but her greatest legacy was the spirit of the men who served aboard her. In 2018, explorers found her resting place deep beneath Kula Gulf. Her hull still upright, her turrets still aimed toward the horizon, as if waiting for the next fight. The Japanese were right to fear her. The USS Helena wasn't just a cruiser. She was steel, forged by hardship, manned by courage, and driven by vengeance. They called her the machine gun cruiser, and she lived up to that name, until her final breath.